And keep in mind that if any of you have ever received a notification from any entity, corporation, government agency, that your social security number was compromised, right, leading to potential identity theft. And generally, when you receive that notification, you are provided the option of receiving, 1 or 2 years of free credit monitoring. Right. You are also at risk for this type of a scam. So criminals use the identity of the homeowner, right, using your social security number in many cases to sell this home, posing as you right from underneath you.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. You are listening to watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz, and hey, it's mid-August, and just when you thought it was safe to go outside, there's a new scam. And it used to be, once upon a time, you couldn't steal a house, you couldn't steal land, things that were permanently affixed. It was very difficult. You couldn't just march off with a house, I guess, unless you put it on a trailer and schlepped it away. But nowadays, the biggest, one of the hottest new scams is stealing land. And especially vacant land, because it's vacant. Nobody's checking it out. Nobody cares about it until you go to sell it and you find out you don't own it anymore. I mean, it's really fascinating. These scammers, they're thinking of new things, new scams 24/7. And Robert Siciliano, who has spent a large part of his life breaking these scams and informing you about them, is with us now. Robert, it's great to have you back. So land scams, who would have thought?
Yeah. So, this particular scam is really nefarious due to the fact that many municipalities throughout the country, right? So you have your, states do things a certain way, and then you have various municipalities statewide that might do things a bit differently. It's how they record information. It's how they put it out there on the web for anybody to see. And then from there, how anybody can access those documents, deeds, titles, and so forth, and change them, manipulate them. Claim them as their own, and so on, either by stealing identities or simply by saying that they purchased it. And throughout the country, these scams are proliferating. Now, certain municipalities have systems in place to alert their constituents that somebody has, taken out a deed, somebody has registered this land, somebody has made a sale on this property, and so on. But many don't. And when you see various services that might alert you on the side for like $25 a month, like a home title lock type of thing, they may or may not even work in your state or in your municipality. So I think it's important that we kind of dig in a little bit, understand what these scams look like, what the red flags might be, and ultimately what things that you can and should be doing to reduce your risk.
All right. And as we're speaking, I just want you to know, I've been meaning to do this, and I'm so happy that we're connecting here because you made me actually do it. I am on the Palm Beach County Clerk's Office website.
Yeah.
And I am now signing up for a fraud alert for my house, just in case somebody tries to take out a mortgage or tries to sell it out from underneath me.
So, Kerry, do me a favor, while you're there, kind of read through it out loud, let everybody know what that looks like, what it sounds like, what it's warning you of.
Okay. Property fraud alert registration. Property fraud alert is an electronic notification service that alerts a subscriber via email every time a land records document is recorded with the requested name. So they're not so much doing it by the address, but by your name. So obviously in order, and that is effective because obviously for somebody to steal my property, they got to convey it from me to a third party. And then it's just putting in your email address, and they want parcel number, of course, which I have to go look up. So I can't do this now. But you enter the address you want to monitor, and then you send a confirmation email, and then you're set, I guess.
Now, there's a couple of things about that I want to point out. So not every county is going to have that system in place. So
Right.
depending on where you are, listening audience, viewing audience, you may or may not have that option. There may be third-party subscriptions that you can pay for.
Yeah,
like
LifeLock I
$5 a
think
month.
does it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So not every municipality throughout the country has that service. Now, I think it's really important, like right now, that you go online, all of you to go online and find out if in fact you have that option. Now, a couple things. Number one, what you want to make sure of is that nobody can actually monitor your deed, your property in place of you.
Right.
You know, like if somebody else out there poses as a Kerry that went ahead, signed themselves up, that they would get that notification. That's problematic. You know, so you want to do that before somebody else does it. All of you, if you have that option.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I see your point, and maybe that's why you need a third party service, and you actually need to pay for it, because we know that governments are often very lackadaisical. But I didn't bother putting in the legal description and whatever else they wanted, a parcel number, but it still confirmed it and said that I am now protected, Robert, thanks to you.
Perfect. So let me define what a vacant land scam is. So it is an umbrella term that applies to any attempt to fraudulently sell in real estate that the scammer does not own. So while undeveloped land is the most common focus of these scams, criminals may attempt to sell residential or commercial buildings, condominiums, or homes. So it's not just the vacant land, although vacant land is an attractive option. Scammers begin by researching properties through public records. Very simple to do because, of course, they are public. They first look for properties that are free of mortgages and liens, and then they look for properties that are likely to be unoccupied, undeveloped land being unoccupied. Empty long-term rentals and out-of-season vacation rentals are also among the most popular for these types of scams.
Yeah, so they're looking for properties that you don't see every single day of the week, right? They're looking for, properties that will, that are, I don't want to say neglected because that is the wrong term for it, but not monitored. Like
a second home, like a vacation
second home.
Yeah.
Right.
And keep in mind that if any of you have ever received a notification from any entity, corporation, government agency, that your social security number was compromised, right, leading to potential identity theft. And generally, when you receive that notification, you are provided the option of receiving, 1 or 2 years of free credit monitoring. You are also at risk for this type of a scam. So criminals use the identity of the homeowner, right, using your social security number in many cases to sell this home, posing as you right from underneath you.
Yeah. And being a recovering attorney, I can tell you that your title insurance, which if you have a mortgage, banks require you to insure the title for unrecorded liens and judgments and other stuff that can come up. You're not covered in your title insurance for this.
Yeah. And you would think, spending, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 for a title insurance policy, it would be. I actually invested in title insurance policy, by default when I bought the house that I'm in right now years ago. And within, 3 or 4 years of purchasing the property, we had somebody that claimed adverse possession over a portion of our properties.
That you're covered. That you were covered for.
And man, I think that title insurance might have dropped. I mean, I know they dropped well into 6 figures. I don't know the exact number. I know it was in excess of $125,000. I don't know what the final number was. But that was cool. Like the best $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 that I've ever spent in my entire life.
And what you need to know is title insurance claims, especially now that all of the court records and land records and lien records have been digitized, are extraordinarily rare. And when it's expensive property, the title insurance company will require you to have a survey, which can point out a potential adverse possession claim. And I've even had it where they walked the property to see if there were any easements or something that weren't recorded. But the number of claims is so rare, and basically title insurance is a way to print money for these insurance companies. They're multi-billion-dollar entities. They keep getting bigger and bigger and more powerful, and states require you to have title insurance, and the federal government does. If you have a mortgage, the bank will not write you a mortgage without title insurance. But all this is academic for property theft because you're not covered for it, because it's an event that actually happened after you purchased property. Title insurance only covers you for claims that arose actually prior to you purchasing the property, even though they might be pursued after you purchase it. So basically, probably LifeLock and these companies will start insuring you and insuring title once this thing really takes off here. I think it was Bill O'Reilly was advertising a service that would monitor the title of your home. It's a real concern, but it's easily provided for.
Yeah. While we're talking about title and those organizations, it brings up mortgage closing real estate fraud. So in addition to, vacant land scams, I have been speaking quite a bit recently revolving around wire fraud as it pertains to mortgage closings. Mm-hmm. And we're seeing in a number of pockets of the country where criminals are monitoring MLS transactions. They'll see that they'll monitor the MLS transactions because A, they can log in due to the fact that they compromise, say, a real estate agent's identity, and they have his or her username and password for the MLS. And so they're able to log into the MLS and they're able to see all these various transactions. And they know that particular closings are, under contract, houses are under contract. And what they do then is they will spend time finding out who the seller is, finding out who the buyer is, finding out, of course, who the real estate agent is. And once they know who the players are, they get inside the actual transaction, either by phishing the real estate agent. So by phishing the real estate agent, they get inside his or her email, posing as Google for that matter.
Right.
And they get inside the email. Now they are inside the real estate agent's email, username, passcode, username being their email address itself, passcode, whatever it was that was phished through the scam that with the phisher, the scammer was posing as Google. Once they're inside the email, now they monitor all the sent and received emails in the agent's account. And over time, they begin to figure out, okay, this is the buyer, this is the seller, this is the particular property. And now they see that the real estate agent is communicating with the buyer, and they will then communicate with the buyer posing as the real estate agent.
Okay? Right. Gotcha.
And now they begin to tell and ask the buyer information revolving around the closing. And in order to speed up the transaction, here are wiring instructions prior to closing.
And then it's
Now,
gone.
the buyer receiving a communication from the real estate agent, thinking that it's the real estate agent because, well, it's the real estate agent's email from an account, from an email address that they've communicated with dozens of times over the past, month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever, has no reason to believe that there's anything,
Right.
scammy going on because it's the real estate agent's email. It's a thread that they've seen before. The buyer then goes and performs the duties based on the instructions that the real estate agent provided. And that dollar amount could be anywhere from, $10,000 to $1 million.
Yeah, or a fortune. That's why these title companies now actually calling up, confirming this stuff and confirming the wires and everything else, because they could theoretically be left holding the bag here.
But the problem is that same wire fraud may not go through. The title insurance company may have no idea that this is happening. The real estate agent may have no idea that this is happening. Any of the lawyers involved have no idea this is happening, because it's all happening between either a compromised title company's email, a compromised lawyer's email, a compromised real estate agent's email, and the buyer.
And it's funny because there's a realtor here in Palm Beach County that I work with on occasion, and all of a sudden I start getting texted from somebody who's pretending to be the head of the agency, but I know that the language is off, and I call her up and I say, "What's going on here? I'm getting this." She says, "Yeah, we got somebody posing here, sending texts out, spoofing texts." And spoofed texts are as dangerous as spoofed emails, Robert,
Yeah, and that's easy to do because right on your iPhone, right on your Android device, you can get access to apps that will spoof the phone number in which you're calling from to be any local extension, any phone number with the actual name of the individual or name of the company, along with whatever that phone number might be. Caller ID spoofing is a common tactic that criminals use, and there are fee-based services online and through the app stores.
To be illegal. And the telemarketing guys do this spoofing all the time. Oh, gee, I got a area code. It's right by mine, the exchange. They must be in my town. It must be somebody I know. You pick it up, and then they're pitching you. So you got to be, basically, don't answer any calls if you don't know who it is, all right? Because it's probably going to be a scam or a telemarketer. And don't send any money out based on a email without first doing a voice verification with the person you know.
Yeah. So the mortgage closing wire fraud scam is reaching billions of dollars a year.
Wow.
And the basic tips that revolve around prevention basically end up in the hands of the buyer, because it's the buyer that holds the bag.
They're holding the money. So they're
holding the money.
The bag.
And while title companies and real estate agents and attorneys, they all have their, due diligence that they need to be performing, it's the buyer, it's you and I that are the potential victims. It's our bank accounts that ultimately are compromised. So all of you paying any attention, any time in the course of your life going forward that you're in the process of buying a property, and it means communicating with somebody on the peripheral of a closing for a mortgage-related transaction, number one, simply enough, never, ever, ever wire money to any bank account unless you have gone through every possible channel you can to determine it is a legit communication. And that means calling every single person involved in the transaction to confirm the legitimacy, A, of the request for a wire transfer, and B, to the designated account in which that it is being sent to. It is under the control of all of the professionals in which that you know, like, and trust. And in some cases, I recommend going into the actual offices of all those involved, meeting with the people, the real estate agent, the title attorney, the lawyer, whoever it might be, the buyer, the seller, meeting in person, those who ultimately benefit from those transactions, opposed to just communicating over the phone, just communicating via email, actually meeting on site in person, those transactions being done on site. Listen, what is it like 30, 40 years ago, mortgages weren't processed unless you were actually in person at a savings and loan.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Today, it's all done virtually, digitally. No people ever, see each other, touch each other, smell each other, nothing. It's all done completely anonymously across the country. That's dangerous. True. And it's ripe for fraud.
Completely. Hey, and, in certain states, like where you have attorney states, it's actually another layer of protection, because then the attorney gets the funds. It's up to him. He's insured if he screws up, hopefully. And, this is serious stuff here. We're talking about, really serious.
And I can't express this more. Even in an attorney-based state like here in Massachusetts, where I'm at, again, like just because that's the case, and just because that attorney, if he or she gets hoodwinked, it's the buyer ultimately. Like if the bad guy skirts that closing attorney and goes directly to the buyer, no insurance is going to fix that.
No,
so
this is,
let's talk about the red flags regarding a vacant land scam and what to look for. So a couple things. Things that you as an attorney, as a buyer, as a seller, as a real estate agent, whoever you are in the process, things to look out for, like the seller refuses to meet in person. This should always be a red flag for any transaction. Scammers may claim to be too busy or to be out of the country and will claim that they cannot attend the closing. They'll also resist video calls and prefer to communicate solely by text or email. That's the same thing with like a romance scam.
Same deal.
Same exact thing.
Romance crypto scams are all the rage.
All the rage. And the pig butchering scam, man, that is a huge one. Huge. And it is the exact same MO. Right? You're meeting with somebody online, you communicate with them, male or female, gay or straight, doesn't make a difference. You could even be chatting with them, either via IM or even using an actual video call, right? Yeah. And over time, you get to know, like, and trust that person. Heck, you might even be engaging in some virtual sex with this person. And over time,
I avoid that at all costs, but yeah.
And over time, you begin to actually develop real feelings for this person, right? And for numerous reasons.
That's called catfishing.
Exactly. And once they start talking about, hey, and by the way, I'm making a ton of money in crypto.
Yeah.
And you have a bond with this person, okay? And they may turn you on to a legit website where you can actually invest some money in. And when I say legit website, like it's a fully functional website.
And it looks like you're making money, but they're stolen your money. This is happening like all over the world. Hey, one other scam that we're going to cover next time, Robert, when we have you on next month, business loan scams. All right. I had a member of the community ask me about them, and I made the mistake of like signing up for one with my phone number. I have gotten probably several thousand calls in the past 2 years.
Oh, man.
I couldn't even believe it. And I was like, I was never going to take out these loans. I was just exploring it to pass it on. I did a piece about it, but they're proliferated, and they're just legal loan sharks. The ones that are real, they get like 25% a week interest with the VIG,
Yeah, and they have you on what they consider is their sucker list. Obviously, you're heads above the rest, but yeah, it's unfortunate because now your phone's infiltrated.
I can't get rid of them. I cannot get rid of them. So, hey, Robert, where do we find you? How do we connect with you on the web?
So I am a few different spots. Robert Siciliano. You just Google Robert Siciliano.
Links in the show notes.
Yeah, that'll be in the notes. Also, you can see me online at protectnowllc.com, protectnowllc.com or robertsiciliano.com.
All right. And in the show notes, hey, you got a question for Robert, myself, email kl@kerrylutz.com. We'll get you an answer. And while you're on the site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com, in the show notes, you'll find the link to Robert's sites and sign up for your free newsletter. Robert, always a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.